Welcome to the Midwest Happy Hour. We're your hosts, Lacey and Haley.
Join us for a drink and a chat with a new Midwest small town perspective on topics that will keep you learning, laughing, and growing.
So let's get into it. Cheers!
Hello and welcome back to another. I know Lacey hates all my intros.
No, I don't. I don't mind that one.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Midwest Happy Hour.
Yo,
Here we are again.
we finally have a guest.
It's us.
Hello.
Yeah, my friend Ann. Our
Yeah.
friend Ann.
Yeah, it's been a
Everybody's
while.
friend Ann. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. I
Yeah.
forgot to put myself on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah,
Okay, now we're good.
before Kindle calls.
Yes, Kendall calls me every time we do a podcast, without fail.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's just talented like that.
Thanks, Kindle.
Yes, thank you. Shout out Kendall. Oh, also, right off the top, we should say our t-shirts are probably going to be in this week. People were asking me last weekend.
They should be this week. So when this podcast comes out, people should already be
You should
contacted.
probably-
But again, we're hoping that they're done. I will get notified by the people creating them.
Have
They
you-
said it'll most likely be by the end of this week. So
Okay. Yay.
I also did a story on Instagram.
Hmm.
You should try it sometime. So people can see
Cheers!
your face.
Today we're drinking Palomas. And they're delicious. With that sparkling Q.
That club soda,
Mhm.
which is really good. I am doing the Ritual 0 proof tequila.
We're doing Cazadores 40 proof, 40% alcohol. What does that mean?
Right, because doesn't that mean that
Does that mean 60 proof? Well, gonna have to Google that one.
I have no idea?
We should know that. Arandas Jalisco. You know what that means?
No.
Me neither. Anyways, we are having Ann on today to talk about how much fun it is being a teacher.
Yes, I'm sure it's a lot of fun.
What year are you in right now? Do you know?
This is start of year 30.
That's so crazy.
Wow.
1993, baby. What a good year. You started teaching.
94.
Oh.
This is the beginning of
Year 30. Oh, yeah, yeah,
year.
yeah. Because you got to count school years, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Right?
That'll be fun. Are you you're looking forward to retirement at this point, right?
very much so.
Wait, so
Yes.
how long will that be? I know we've-
34 years.
And that's like regular for teachers, right? Like that's the thing is you teach
Yeah,
for 34.
It depends now. They're hiring teachers, and I think you have to stay on till like you're 65 or even older. So that's another ding against new teachers.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think I want a 65-year-old teaching my 5th grader because
don't.
she is...
She's gonna have she's gonna have no patience.
yeah.
Right.
Because I'm at the end of mine.
But speaking from experience. But so when you got out of high school, were you like, I'm ready to be a teacher? Like, was that your
No.
first plan?
I think me being in special ed myself for reading and math and spelling and knowing the challenges, it helps me see my special ed students. I know exactly how they're seeing it,
Yeah.
like reversing letters and numbers, dyscalculia is reversing your numbers and dyslexia is reversing letters.
So you're like, I feel that feeling. I'm ready
Yes, I still
I'll
do
show
it.
the youth.
Yeah.
It's just ways of trying to, that's how your brain is made.
Yeah.
That's just how you're born, and it's a way, you've got to figure out a way how to get around it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
your
Right.
supports around you.
What ages do you teach?
I've been all over the board. I've done kindergarten all the way up through, I don't have a PE teacher degree, but they needed someone to come in and give, teachers their prep time, so I went over there and did the self-contained PE.
Yeah.
For during the day, just once I'd go over there for about an hour, and it was neat because then I had all those kids years ago in my self-contained class, so it was neat to go back and see them at the high school level.
Oh, fun. And you
Yeah.
were like, let's play, not supposed to play dodgeball. Well, I don't know about you guys, but we had to play
Right.
Ridgeview Catch.
Yeah.
But that's fun. So do you have a favorite? You're like, okay, the 10-year-olds are clearly the best.
I really enjoyed working at the junior high level,
Yeah.
which a lot of people do not because of the hormones and the
They
voice
smell
changing.
bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did some trips to the shower and the locker room
Yes.
because I'm not gonna smell you all day.
No. And sometimes kids just don't know. Like, nobody ever told them,
Right.
like, do the rotisserie chicken, like, scrub pits, tits, and slits and everything all the way up and down, and then you'll be good because you're a smelly 12-year-old.
And it all starts at home. If they're not taught that at home, they
Yeah.
honestly don't know.
Yeah. In 1994, kids had more experience, you think?
I think some of it was some parents were still at home raising their children instead of, both parents outside the home. I also work in a community where it's pretty religious and the women do stay home with their children, and
Yeah.
those kids come prepared for school. They know their colors, they know their numbers, they know their letters, they have manners.
Oh.
Mhm.
Like, instead of, like, sometimes you just get a wild child that's, like, the parents have been
I
working.
just
and,
actually listened to a podcast and it talked about there's like evidence, physical proof that like when you have a kid that stays home between the ages of 0 and 3, there's just a significant difference than when you like send them out to like daycare.
Daycare.
Like
Mhm.
daycare was created really as a last resort, and now it's used as the first option in a lot of people's heads. But it was an interesting podcast because they just talked about just like that during that time, like all the kid needs to feel is loved in order to like be able to like be okay emotionally, like intelligently, like later on in their
Some
their
kids
life.
come to school to feel love, which is sad.
Yeah.
yeah, I bet in the special ed community it's a little
Yeah.
rough
Yeah.
as well. Like, because, well, I don't know. What creates a special ed kid? Nature, nurture? You never know.
I think
mean,
it's genetics, but I'm adopted, so I don't have anyone to,
Right,
did my
I know.
grandmother have, learning challenges? I think everyone does to a degree. It's,
right.
the way it manifests itself. I
Yeah.
think everyone
Right.
has some sort of ADHD thing and attention problems and hyper disorder. It's how you learn to manage it. Just like, with me, with my learning disabilities, you got to figure out how you're going to adult
Right.
with these challenges.
Yeah, because you don't have a choice, kids.
You don't.
got to get up and grow up and get out
care
and
of
get a
yourself.
job and
Right.
yep, learn how to take care of yourself for sure. But we all know those people that are still like
Living in parents' basements.
yeah, or
and
friends'
38.
couches or something, or
That's such like an interesting concept to me.
yes,
Why?
I know. But yeah, I just
I think it boils down to like discipline. Like if the parents don't have a certain set of expectations for their child. And I'm when I was growing up, there was this kid and his parents both worked, and I think they also had the guilt complex of like, we work all day long, or we're just going to shower our kid with whatever he wants. And
right.
then
He's problematic because he's like, why don't you give me whatever I want?
Well, yeah, and
like, well,
he's-
I'm not your mom and dad,
he's had
so
real challenges. Not every kid's going to have real challenges, but I mean, he ended up serving a little stint because his parents were so laxed with him. And
Right.
also the father, he blamed it all on the teachers. Like every single year he went to my church, and every single year he'd be like, oh, we don't like this teacher because of,
my
and it was
God.
every single teacher, and we're like, what's the consistent thing here?
yeah, if
You're a
everything
student, you're a child.
yeah,
you
if
know?
everything smells like shit, you're probably the asshole. Like,
Right.
it's not that every teacher sucks. It's that you're doing something wrong. But that is like a crazy thing that I never really thought about until recently. I don't know why it's been brought up more and more. Like people that I know that have kids that are like school age, they're like, well, I hope that they get this teacher. Like, I'm going to request it. And they're like freaking out about the curriculum and everything now. And I'm like, I feel like our parents were like, pretty laxed about it. Like nobody was freaking out about what we're going to be learning in social studies or whatever, what teachers teaching.
Right.
And like, I don't know.
I think some this is what we go to school for. Trust us. We're
Yes.
trained professionals. We know what we're doing.
Right.
And some parents are so micromanaging, and it's like, and then I think when the pandemic hit, they were like, oh my God, we have our kid at home and we've got to teach them. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, now how,
Yes,
we're
you're
like, I don't know what we're
welcome.
doing.
Right. Do you ever feel like, so like coming from my perspective and doing a lot of like my own research, I guess, so to speak, but thoughts about like the things that students are being taught today, I don't think all students need to be taught. And a lot of it was like incorrect. Like our history classes were
Christopher Columbus accidentally brought smallpox in a
Right.
blanket. He was just a mixed up guy.
He was a really good guy. But like outside of that, I think a lot about when you like get through junior high, I think it's important that you know the basics, right? Like you know all of that. You know how to read, you know how to write, you know how to do
Algebra.
all of that stuff.
Last time you said algebra doesn't matter. Algebra lives matter.
Yeah, but my thought is when they reach that age, they start having a general idea of like what they're interested in. I still think that there should still be like a baseline of classes that they take, but not as many as they're made to take, and it should be more like electives, because then the expectation is, okay, so right after you graduate from high school, you go to college, and you should know exactly what you want to do and pay all this money to then
You're
get your
18.
degree.
You shouldn't have a clue what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're
so that's
dumb.
why it
You're
like
still
blows
dumb.
my mind that that's like the right, like
That's the system.
The flow,
It's
the
called a
system.
system for a
It should be
reason.
more based on what your child prefers, so that they're working on their strengths and they're not failing in class because they don't give two shits about it. And I would agree, if you have no interest in learning anything further than the knowledge you need to have through elementary, junior high of history, if that's not something that interests you right now, then okay, let's take something else. But it could interest him. Like, so Flint is a huge history buff, but that didn't like peak until he was like 20. So then so take history classes then in college and
Yeah.
like
It's still important to build a good foundation, and like a breadth of knowledge is better than just like, hey, I know how to weld real good now. Hey, Dad, can I not go to school and just learn how to weld? Like
I don't know why you think they're gonna be idiots and not know how to talk at that point, or know how to do like shit in general. I'd rather teach my kids to be like entrepreneurial and not want to work for the man and try to make barely any money. To then, I'm not saying school isn't important. That's not what I said at
I
all.
know.
Just that I think our system is a little broken in terms of like setting people up for success and not just to like do the status quo, go work for a
Right.
big company, make not
Work
a lot
9
of
to 5.
money while the CEO is making millions of dollars. Like, I just don't want that life for my kids, and I would hope other people don't want that life for their kids.
I think another component is it's just so much information that they shove down these children. The rigor of school is just unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, 5th and 6th graders are learning some math that I learned in high school. I mean,
yeah.
we've really
They're pushing everything back to
Oh my
younger
gosh.
kids. Huh,
and
interesting.
that causes so much stress and anxiety that kids don't need to have, when kids should literally just be kids.
Right.
Learn and enjoy learning and not feel overwhelmed and stressed out.
Yeah.
You know, like we feel, we'll have people comment like, oh, we saw the kids out, playing for X amount of time. They think every little bit of time we should be shoving this information. Kids need to go out and
And I'm the
socialize,
opposite.
and
Yeah.
they need to hang out with kids their own age without their technology.
Yes.
Right.
And I feel
No
like
technology.
4 hours of learning a day is enough. The rest of the time they need to be exploring, doing things with their hands, being outside.
We need more vocational. We need like home ec back.
Right.
We need
Welding,
shop
mechanics,
classes,
yes.
Because
balancing
when you're
checkbooks.
Because
Yeah.
when you're in high
Yes.
school, okay, that one should be mandatory,
Taxes.
1000%.
Nobody teaches you that. I mean,
These are
we,
life skills that are
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah, like,
important.
we learned about taxes for like 2 weeks in
Yeah.
ag, and I did not
I never
understand
did.
anything by the end of it. He
No.
made us fill out like our paper, like the actual and it was like, well, you're not gonna have to do this really. You'll just like plug it in online, and then I'm like, then I already shut my brain off, and I'm
Yeah.
just doing this to get it over with. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what any of this shit means. Like,
No.
that's why CPAs exist.
No, but that's why I feel like after junior high, if you're interested in welding, or if you're interested in learning how to cook, because maybe your parents don't cook for you at home, and so you're
yeah.
curious about it, like, you should be able to like take those classes.
Nutrition
Because-
classes.
Yes,
Yeah.
nutrition.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Because
yes.
the obesity problem is huge because
Oh,
people
yeah.
are
Yeah.
sitting, getting way too much
All
sun.
those weird like humps on people's backs are freaking me out recently. I don't want to crack people's backs and scare them and kill somebody.
No, it just needs a revamp, and it's 2023. Like, I feel like
Out with the old, in with the new.
No,
Slow
for
down
sure.
a bit. And
Yeah.
also, like, when I had my summers off, my mom would get, the thing that stuck was like horseback riding, but I experienced tennis, which was not my thing.
Yeah.
Gymnastics, ballet, no.
No,
But I got to
right.
go, no, yes, yes, no. I got to go through all of that.
Right.
And be a kid and outside. And, I look at my cousin with his 2 boys, and they are signed up from morning till night, all through the summer. They don't have any time just to sit and play in a mud puddle or, you know what I mean? Just do average kid
I know.
stuff. They're constantly going from this activity to the next, and it's all structured. And
Right, but you know what's wild? I think I've thought about this a lot, and I think it's because in today's day, we don't really have many communities. So, like,
Right.
kids aren't really playing with kids because we don't really have communities where they can just go off and play.
I know
Like,
all of
Colfax
my
might be a
neighbors.
little
Right.
bit different because
Yeah.
it's a small town, but like,
And those kids, it's been like, it's weird that, especially now since Patrick and I moved back since 2015, like I was only gone for whatever, like 3 years or
Yeah.
whatever. But the ebb and flow of like kids in town, it's like, okay, these kids were like 5 and I gave them swimming lessons at the pool. And then now they're like 10 and they're playing with each other in town. And now they're teenagers and they're driving around. And there's like a whole new set of kids that are like walking around and digging in the dirt and picking flowers and stuff. And it's weird because you'll be like, where's all the kids? And then like 2 summers later, you're like, where'd all these kids come from?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I'll run my dogs at Fairview Park, and there aren't any kids out.
Weird.
It's just
Yeah.
bizarre. That was my go-to park.
Yeah.
Fairview Pool. I mean, I watched the first water slide get built. I mean, we were
Yeah.
constantly out. Your parents would be like, see ya, pack your lunch, and you'd be back by dinner.
I know.
But also, we had a community that, Mrs. Allen would discipline me, yelling out the window at me, just like my mom would yell at some other kid.
Right. And
And all moms grouped together. It
Yes.
took a
Yeah.
village to raise.
there's
that same-
eyeballs everywhere
Right.
rather than like,
You didn't get away with anything because some parents saw something.
yes.
Yeah.
And also people stealing children. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
Right.
it's an argument to whether it happened more back then or not. Like, I don't know. Because nowadays everybody has like Life 360 on their
Mhm.
iPhone and stuff and you can like track your kids. But okay, well back in the day, everybody tracked their kids by the neighbors. Like, hey, I saw
But
them
also
over here. And
over half the moms were at home
right,
to
right.
yell out the window at
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
man, this podcast that I just listened to was just talking like they were very pro, like, before you have kids, before you even get married, one, you should look into how much like your potential husband like is going to make. Is he driven?
Yeah, whether
Like,
you have
is
kids
he-
or not.
Because maybe you do want to stay at home with your kids, but you
Or
want to
maybe
make
he
sure.
does.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly,
You know?
or vice versa. But like having that like fully planned out of, do you want to have kids? What does that look like? Are you going to stay home or do you want to keep working? What are your priorities? And really like take a deeper dive into it. I mean, I didn't really think about it. I was just like,
No.
And how
Oh,
are you
I
going
wanna
to
have
discipline your children?
yeah.
Because
Oh,
if you
yeah.
don't come together,
Yes.
I mean, my brother and his husband, they don't discipline their dogs the same. It's a mess. I mean, just their dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to discipline. I'll have parents come in for a parent-teacher conference, and, my self-contained kids, I have them all day long except for when they go out to art or music. And so I have a high standard of behavior and what I
Right.
will and won't accept. And I'm an old school teacher of like, you have a problem with it, you're going to have to figure this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a problem about it and interrupt my whole entire class, you need to go step outside.
Those are
I
my
don't
favorite.
put it. Yeah.
Those are my favorite stories that you tell when you're
Sorry to
like-
spit on you.
Oh, I'm sure we've been exchanging. But my favorite is whenever you'll say like your kid's being a dick, and you'll be like, "Please exit the area," and they'll
Go
be
do it
like,
somewhere else.
some of them will be like,
What do I do?
"What?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, goodbye. Get away. Like,
Yeah.
get away from me with your
And that
attitude.
teaches them, like, I'm not necessarily sending them to the principal.
Right.
Go out in the hallway and figure that out.
Take a deep
because
breath.
I have given you all the steps you need to control your behavior,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
choosing not to. So
Yeah.
choose to do it out in the hallway.
Did you build yourself up to being like that, or do you feel like you were always like a real good like disciplinarian, like I'm not putting up with BS in the classroom?
When I was taking my tests to get certified in learning disabilities and behavior disorders, I scored higher in behavioral,
Oh, okay.
and I was like, wow, I thought, me being learning disabled myself, I would,
Oh,
know more.
interesting.
But then I think I've always been like with how I've raised my animals, or
Right.
it's just constant consistency, and you can. I think it also helps that I'm the most stubborn person I know, because I will not relent. I won't.
Right,
What I
right.
say it at the beginning of the year, it will still be the very same reaction you're going to get at the end of
Which
the year.
that's fantastic because that's consistency. It's when
Mhm.
like teachers or bosses are inconsistent with their words.
Or
Yeah.
they explode out of
Yeah.
nowhere, and they didn't give them any warning is the reason why their behavior was not on the
Yeah.
money,
Right. That's a behavioral issue on their part.
Mhm.
you know?
And, like I was saying, with parents that come in and they'll bring their kids into parent-teacher conference, which I recommend, because
Yeah.
I tell there's no
There's no secret.
secrets
Yeah,
at all,
yeah.
because the kid knows exactly what I expect, and the parents do too,
Right.
and their other siblings will be in there, and I don't, if you're tearing down my room, I'm going to stop the conference and tell you need to get hold of your kid. Because, there's just, or they'll ask, how do you get them to behave like that? I can't get them to behave like that at home. Because it's such hard work.
Yeah.
I'm not a parent, but behavior modification is never ending, and you have to, there's no relenting. My mom would ground me as a kid and taking away my
Yeah.
freedom,
Yeah.
and she meant it. If
Yeah.
I was grounded on Monday and I was let loose on Friday at 5:30, it was Friday at 5:30.
There was no making up for
Nope.
it, getting out early.
Nope, there's none of this. Mom says no, go ask dad. My parents were
Mm.
completely on the same page with disciplinary.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's huge. I wonder, like if the teacher thing, like if teachers or parents at your school are like, oh great, they've got Mrs. Barrett. It's gonna be a hard one this year. And the parents are probably like,
that
oh
Barrett woman.
shit, yeah.
Because now I've had, I've been at it so long that I've had kids and their kids, and now another set of their kids.
Oh yeah, I didn't
You know
even
what
think
I
about
mean?
that. Yeah, for
So
sure.
some of them are like, no, we don't want merit, because I'm like, and
yeah.
they were always on my list because they didn't
Mhm.
do what I expect them to do.
But that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like discipline because I like discipline. Oh, why
They
would
know
I
what
say
to
that
expect.
out loud? Yes, I like expectations.
Mhm.
I don't like discipline. I don't like it when people tell me what to do. But I do like a guideline to where like don't do this. This is okay. Whatever.
We also
It's
have a
better
lot
to
of
live lives
fun.
like that.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I mean, I respect them. They respect it. It's a give and take situation, and we
Yeah.
have a lot of fun. But once you cross a line,
Yeah.
and also I'm very honest with them. If I'm in a real pissy mood, I will let them know. I'm
Maybe
not
they
in a
never-
good mood. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and here's
Yeah.
what I'm feeling. Because that's when you go to work,
Yeah.
you're going to deal with that. So I'm very real with them. I didn't sleep well last night. Such and such and such and such happened last year. They knew about my dad dying. I
Yeah.
was very honest, because that affects you
Right.
deeply, and it also could either put you under or it propels you up, and it
Mhm.
teaches them lessons, because their parents are going to die.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, and like kids are very intuitive.
Right.
Like they
They are.
probably, if you're
a
just
lot more
coming
than what
in.
you would think.
Yeah,
right.
if you're just coming in being like, what's up? Like, they're probably like, she's being real weird. But if you go, like, I'm having a hard time,
Right.
like, my dad passed away, and they're probably like, oh, okay, now we know to, like, it'll be okay. Like, we'll figure
I
this
feel
out.
like, man, it should be more accepted for people to do that in any type of workforce.
should.
Because, like, there'd be days where I would go into the office and
Salt.
and I would just not be in the mood.
Mhm.
But I have to put on a smile and I have to, like, just, oh yeah,
Put on a
everything's
face.
great.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the day, you're mentally exhausted because you're
Yeah.
more being, like, real.
Yeah. Oh, how have your coworkers been over the years? Like, or not? I guess coworkers is probably the right word. Like other teachers. Like, I'm sure you've been through the ringer of like.
When I first started in '94, there was 2 teachers, and they were, fresh into teaching, and they were like, and you can't expect much from this group of kids that you're working with. It just blew me away, and I'm like,
well, you should see my behavioral scores on.
I am one of these children, and I've gone on and said, at 46, I got my master's. I mean, learning never stops. So you have that really old school where, that just don't expect much out of them because they're slow learners. No, everyone learns differently.
Right,
And
it's just
everyone's
different,
capable
yeah.
of something.
Right.
Whether my kids, I'm there now, this year our big focus was to learn time on a face clock, not digital.
Yeah.
So I covered up the digital clock, and life skills are huge in my room.
Yes.
Counting money, going out to a restaurant, but there are other teachers who think I'm too
hard, or
I'm not
like,
hard, but
they're more relaxed.
Or you
you can't
ask
be
too
their
much of
buddies.
them? Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
here to be your buddy.
I see.
I'm here to teach you,
Right.
Yeah.
and you're going to decide how it's going to go.
Oh.
Whether
Leave it
you
up
get
to
the
the
good
kids.
side of me,
Yeah.
or whether I'm constantly chewing you
On ya,
because so you get to forge this path, and
Yeah,
it's your
that's-
education too. You need to take control of this.
Yeah, thinking about like experiences in school, that's true. My 5th grade teacher was mean to me all the time. Like literally she made me cry when I went home. And so my mom called a parent teacher conference in, and literally like we went in and she was like, you're like, the teacher was still like, you're smarter than this, and like was going off on me, and I just like left the room like crying, and my mom talked to her, and at the end of the conversation my mom was like, she's just hard on you because she knows you're smarter than this and you're just being dumb and like not doing your work or whatever. And I was like, I swear. But she was probably right. I probably was fucking off, like, and being stupid, but she was like, but then that was 5th grade. 6th grade, everything's fine, but I think I went easily because I was pretty smart. Like, I got good grades, but I think I just was good at, like, figuring out how to take tests and do homework easily and get good grades. I don't know if I really, like, was learning super good, because I think about some of the books we read in, like, 7th grade when I was 12, and they were, like, really good books, like The Giver, To Kill a Mockingbird. Do I remember them? Not really. And so I reread them as an adult, and I'm like, I did not take this in, like, at all as a child.
And that's true, because some things that I experienced in my education, like English and conjugating verbs and all this, I was not ready for that at all.
Right.
Once I taught it, then I'm like,
I get it.
But it took
Yeah.
how many years later? Because we don't learn all in the same way in the same day. We
Right.
just don't.
And like I learn a lot by doing it or teaching how to do it.
Yep.
Because
Right.
sometimes once I just like say the words, all of a sudden it'll be like it clicked. Like, oh my gosh, why didn't I see that before?
Yeah, but you weren't ready to, it's like anything in life. You got to be at a certain understanding
Right.
Yeah.
to
And that's
receive it.
why, like, when you say that everyone learns differently, I just don't think our society has fully accepted that, because then, like, I've had people in our family be like a kid, like nephews in our family, be told by teachers or whatever that they need to be put on, like, Adderall or whatever. And it's like,
Maybe
because
they
they can't-
should.
People
because they
in your
can't-
family have said that?
no,
Because educators
sorry,
cannot.
No,
Because
they,
then they have to foot the bill. So you'll never hear,
but it was in this situation. But it's like,
you can't say that. I think your student, your child needs to be put on I'm not a medical doctor. That's not for me to judge.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And just because a kid can't sit still for 8 hours a day,
They can't. No one
what
can.
the F? I can't. I don't want to sit in a chair. Oh,
Right.
Thank you. I get 3 minutes every 48 minutes
To switch classrooms and
To
then
sit
go
back down.
sit back down, to listen.
I think more. I haven't been in college in a long time, but I think they need to have. We always take continuing education stuff, but to
Right.
be at a university, they need more like like when my students are out of it and can't, I send them a little hello note and send them to the office, and it's nothing. And the secretary writes back, "Hi, Ann," and sends it right. It's just to get the kid out and moving, and they're also feeling successful of like, I'm helping Miss Merritt.
Yeah.
I'm helping her
That's
out.
awesome. Yeah, that is a good
Give them a
goal.
task.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
that's
when-
what your boys are about. Like, if you give them a task, they're like,
Yep.
got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and or just like I need to get up. My Fitbit will go zzz,
Right, it's
and
like
we'll
they're
go
just-
walk down the hallway.
There
Yeah.
just needs to be like
Mhm.
physical movement throughout the day.
A little
And that's
break.
why I think 4 hours is like enough learning in one day. Like, why are we trying to shove 45 minutes of one specific thing into their head? Why don't we rotate it?
Sure,
It-
sure.
Like-
But there, I don't know about. I was gonna say block schedules at other schools, but actually, I don't
Our
really
high
know
school has
anything.
that.
Yeah, and that's
It's two, in my
Force-
opinion. It's like 90 minutes of all the same.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it, well,
hopefully you get it in
that's
2 days.
right,
Yeah,
because it's a
Yeah.
lot. And I think more of changing. We're starting younger, like at the 5th and 6th grade school I'm at. We're now changing different classrooms, so it's not like one teacher teaches all the subjects. You go to such
Oh.
and such for math, and
Yeah.
so only teaches reading, and so
We did that in 5th grade. I think we were one of the first classes to do that. We would switch for like math and science or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
And it was just one class, but we weren't with our one teacher all day long. Like at least
No.
for one of the periods, we would switch classrooms
Yeah.
and go to the other one and learn a different subject. And that was great. Yeah, I loved that.
I also
I
would
forgot
like
about
it
that,
Yeah.
for people who are making these laws to sit. I mean, they're not teachers making these laws.
Right.
What are-
You know, it's high ups like governmental or, you know, that
Yeah.
are setting down the standards of schooling, which
Department of Education. Yeah.
and they're not in my classroom. They
Right.
have no idea what goes down in my
So
classroom.
what type of laws are like come to mind, or like what are they doing where you're like, what?
Well, just like of the rigor of schooling, or
Oh,
they
okay.
need to be taught this, that, or the other, or they need to. If you're going to hold that position, you need to have taught for such and such amount of time. I've also
Right.
had administrators that have gone from their bachelor's to their administration degree and spent very little time in the classroom, which you have to get that. It's like boot camp. You got to get that in there
Right.
to really see, because otherwise you're going to tell me what I should be doing in my room.
All right, you have no
Yeah.
idea. You
Yeah,
weren't-
it's
you
insulting.
weren't doing
You've
it.
never been a teacher, so how do you know if this is good or
Right.
not? Ugh, I hate people telling me what to do, and I especially hate when people don't know what they're doing and they tell me what to do.
Yes.
Our buddy, freaking Riss, our guy friend that likes to tell people what to do all the time, told me at the bar on Saturday. He goes, "She needs beer. She's been standing here 5 minutes." I'm like, dude, do you want to tell me how to do my job? You know who you are, bud, that you don't listen to this podcast, but everybody else knows who you are that's listening
don't.
right now. He's got 3 letters, and he thinks that he knows everything. But I don't teach him how to weld at work, and neither does my dad, so be nice.
Right.
Yeah,
People
I
tell me how to do my job, and it's like, just stick,
Yeah, I remember.
stick to what you do. I don't tell you how to weld. You don't tell me how to teach.
Literally, that's all it made me think of that Saturday night when he was like yelling at me, like, "She needs beer down here." I'm like, dude, did you not learn your lesson when Anne came absolutely unglued on you? Could you try to tell her how to teach?
I'm sure you're teaching that woke curriculum and on and on and on. I'm sure you're teaching, sex ed at kindergarten level. I'm like, when did you graduate? Yeah, it's a lot different now, and we don't have any of that going on, at least in my district. And I think a lot of parents are now becoming more like going to board meetings and stuff, going, "No, you're not sliding this under us. We're gonna know. We want to know what's going on."
Right. So, speaking of like Department of Education and stuff, so with your curriculum, you basically have like a blueprint of what you're supposed to teach throughout the year for like testing purposes, basically, and then like, do you just kind of throw in what you think is important somewhere in the middle?
Well, my students have IEPs, which are
Oh, that's
individual educational plans, and there's goals written to their challenges in math and their challenges in reading, and so I teach to their goals.
It's student
It's
specific,
right.
but you also only have
It depends. Like last year, the year before, I had like 7, and last year I had 3. And but then this is like that I have all day long.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I'll have like 5 more coming in for reading and
Right.
5 more coming in for math that are, and that's a true learning disability when you're going along in school, everything's fine, but you got to go to a math class. That's where your deficit is.
Yeah.
Right.
And then everything else,
So it's more like student specific rather than having like a whole, you have 20 kids in a classroom and you're like, okay, we're going to read this book and then take this quiz and then.
But I've also done inclusion, and that's, there I'm in the classroom with them and their IEP, they're not, they're at closer to the grade level that they're in. Like some of my students were at reading at first grade level. So I take them exactly where they're at. I mean,
Right.
what else are you going to do?
Yeah, you can't expect them to be
Right.
reading at if they can't read at 5th grade level, they can't.
Right.
Like,
And then,
It's what it
other
is.
times when I do resource, when I'm in co-teaching with, then it's a different set of, their IEP is written for different set of goals, and then they're going along with the regular curriculum. I just modify it to their levels.
right.
But
Cool.
my room can be like a little one-room schoolhouse. I can have a kid
Yeah.
reading at
Right.
4th grade level and one at first.
Right, you never
But like
know.
I love that it's not too many like kids, because
Yeah.
even at Ridgeview, like if it's like 1 to 15, how is each kid
Well,
getting the
and then that's called, because your school's different. Ridgeview is,
We have attendance centers.
right, so the special ed kids go to
Right,
a classroom
right.
for a certain class, whereas your kids are at that school.
My kids will go out for specials like
Right.
math for music and PE, and they'll
Okay.
go out,
Yeah.
And also I'll take my kids. I worked with a co-teacher last year, and we go in. I try to get them in as much as possible because
Right.
Right.
they need to be with the same age peers.
Right.
do they like get grades just like everyone else?
I grade them on their IEP cards or goals, so it's not
Okay.
necessarily. I mean, we don't do
Right.
like an A, B, C, D.
Which is fantastic. I think all people need to have a different grading scale, because some people are just shitty test takers. I was not a good test taker.
ISU would not accept me on my SAT scores or whatever that test is
Oh,
Yeah.
because it was so low.
it might be ACT in Illinois. I
There
don't
you
remember, but
Yeah.
other states take SAT tests. So,
I got
yeah.
like horribly low because I'm
Yeah.
a terrible test taker.
right.
Right.
And-
And then that like makes you kind of feel,
Yeah.
maybe not you specifically,
I
but
felt
then
horrible.
it makes people feel awful, like I'm so stupid.
Mhm.
No, you just aren't a good test taker, and that's okay.
So I
Yeah.
went on to Lincoln Junior College, and then I got dean's list, president's list. I made it,
They worked with you.
Right,
Yeah.
and then so ISU was like, "Oh my gosh, we want you." I'm like, "What?
Well-
You did 2 years ago."
Yeah.
Right.
So you graduated ISU in would have been
I graduated Lincoln Junior College in '91, and then ISU in '94,
and
and
then
then St. Xavier in
it was only like
2000.
4, 5, 6 years
16.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably 16 or so.
that was tough because when I graduated ISU, there was no internet.
Right, right.
So, and then my master's class, we had online classes as well as physical. So,
So you did have to go to like physical classes. I think I've asked you that before. Yeah. So but how was that? Like, I don't even know what it's like to get your master's or whatever. I'm sure it's just pretty
It's a
much
lot of work.
harder than.
it's depending on what you're where you want to specialize in.
Mhm.
But it's a lot of work because you teach all day long and then you go to class from like 5 to 9. It's tough.
Freaking
Yeah, that's
rough. But
Yeah.
it was
I mean,
worth it.
I had to do it because I wasn't financially able to live on my paycheck,
Right.
like comfortably.
Yeah.
I was living hand to mouth. I had to
Yeah.
go on, and it's also important to always elevate your education,
Yeah.
but I needed more money.
Yeah, you
It was
have to get more
pathetic.
education to make more money.
Mhm.
That is wild.
Yeah, and you have to do on top, not just like your master's, continuing education is a thing for teachers every year where you have to put.
120 hours
Yeah, you basically have to take classes for 1120 hours a year to make sure you're
every 5
like.
years to get your relicensed.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Every 5 years, I don't think that's bad.
No, but it like
Well,
blew my
so
mind
hot.
because you were like, I have to do my continuing education today. Like, I just need to get through these, like, blast through these classes. And you're just doing, like, shit online, which is good probably because you're, like, learning more. But also,
some of it is just like,
BS.
don't
Yeah.
waste my time.
Right. I
It's
see. Yeah.
insulting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At corporations, they make you do like every so often, like these modules, or if you have licensing, they make you like do continuing education or whatever the case may be. And it's like,
Yeah.
this is literally
Mm-hmm.
why am I?
Yeah.
why
Blood
is this
drain.
happening?
Oh, vocabulary. Self-contained
Mhm.
classes means
That they're performing at a certain level that doesn't allow them or doesn't afford them to be in with the regular population. They need more intensive instruction.
right.
So like where their real deficits are, like in a 5th grade classroom, they're not teaching them how to count money
Right.
or to, do a 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication problem. I mean, we're
Yeah.
at a much different level.
Yeah.
I see. I just
Let
wanted
me
to
tell you, my kids in my room, every year I'll have someone say, "Oh, that's Merritt's class," because look at how they, or another class teacher will be like, "Take a look. That's how you should be acting," because we spend so much time together. Like one of my students
Yeah.
last year, we're a little family, and they know what I expect,
yeah.
so they
Yeah.
behave. They pull the rank. It's
good.
really nice.
And I know, like, since I've known you, I know since I've known you that even some older students, like after they graduate, reach out and they're like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's got to make you feel good.
It
At
does.
least you're like, I did that kind of, but a little bit.
Or I'll even have parents that
Yeah.
come back and say, which is nice because in the past I've had like and this taught me I need to have someone in a room with me to listen to the conversation
Yeah.
because I had some parent just call me everything but a white woman. And then I have to have an IEP meeting, and she didn't realize I was going to be there.
Oh,
And my thing was like, after that
Yeah.
attack, I have nothing to say.
yeah.
So I will sit here in the meeting and do my paperwork and what's expected out of me. The principal and the rest of you need to handle her because I won't accept that kind of treatment. The treatment that parents give you, like you'll call a meeting about a student and I'll say, if it's particularly horrible, I'll say and what happened, and the parent's like, "Did you really do that?"
Oh my God! But like, I'm the
I
adult
just
telling
told you what
you.
what your kid just did. And
Yeah.
you need to ask your kid first if they really did it.
They probably already lied about it.
Undermining
Yeah.
that happens is
Yeah, they need to put the trust in you.
Right.
Like, you're the one that got the education in order to teach the
right.
child.
And I would not be on year 30 if I were,
Right.
we had another instance where a parent was claiming that teachers beat children in the room. That's what we do.
Okay.
It's just the hideous stuff that they can make up about you.
Like, if
and
I
try to
did-
ruin you.
Beat your kid, I bet he wouldn't tell you. Because I would beat him so bad.
Well, that's why we always have like one or two people in the room at the same time. So
Right.
if some kid said Miss Merritt, tried to do this or that,
Yeah. Like, I have evidence.
Yeah.
AKA this other child that says that I didn't do it because I beat him. I'm just kidding. No, but so sometimes it's more the parents than the kids. even.
sometimes the parents are the bigger problem.
Yeah.
And that's why the kids are problems.
Yeah.
It all starts at home.
Shocking. Yeah,
It all
shocking.
starts at home.
That's just wild. I don't even know.
If you were to think about like some of the things that you wish the education would change or treat teachers, like what would be like what you would like to see fixed in the next 5 years?
Good question. Great question.
In the next 5 years,
Or earlier, I don't know.
see,
or 10.
so
10
you can
years.
feel like
So
the
yeah.
pendulum
Okay, so
swing
the next-
where something starts and then you go through it and then it swings back to the way it was. Or
interesting.
I just wish, parents, I'm sure they understand this, and parenting's hard, but
Yeah.
it's the most important job you will ever have. Teaching's my most important job.
Right.
You have to make sure your child has everything in them prepared, morals, behavioral, how to treat others, manners. That is so important. It'll
Yeah.
get them everywhere if
Yeah.
they learn self-control.
Right.
Right.
And
But
a
then
lot
you
of
see their
that-
parents
yeah.
popping off like fools,
Yeah.
cussing down the principal, screaming in the hall. The things we have
Right.
to deal with.
But then I hate to go back to this, and I don't want anyone to think that I think if you're like a working mom, then that's
Right,
not what you
that's
should
bad,
be doing.
yeah.
But when you like take your child to daycare starting at 6 weeks and you only see them for an hour in the morning and then 2 hours at night.
I see your kid more than you do.
Yeah.
Yes, and that might be why they have behavioral issues because you're not the one really teaching them
Right.
and loving on them and letting them feel secure
And even just like the behavior thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the way I behave towards people,
yeah.
you know, like in life. Just even at the grocery store, like saying thank you to the cashier or whatever, or
Right.
being nice, or like waitresses, like the way people treat waitresses sometimes is pretty wild. And they
Right.
bring their kids in, and then their kids see how they treat them, and
Oh, yeah.
it's
Well,
like,
that's
Learned behavior.
But I don't want to say again, like there are great kids who
Oh, yeah.
went to daycare and
Totally.
everything turned out just fine. I just don't want people to come for me.
It's just too
daycare
bad
moms.
when you have some students that are they cannot regulate their behaviors, and then the rest of the kids in the class suffer for that,
yeah,
and that's not fair. And that'll be the way when they're an adult.
right.
Do you teach like if you think about like autism on the like spectrum, like on the deep end of the spectrum, like do you?
I've had it. I had back in my first self-contained days, I was the teacher, you know, when the kid was violent, throwing chairs at me, trying to kill me, you would take them down on the floor and physically restrain them. Now there's no touching.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Even if you're being
Nope.
threatened with violence?
And that's the problem because kids, you know, teachers are getting beaten and there's nothing we can do about that.
You just send them
Autism
home.
is like such an interesting
It is.
thing.
No, I'm not saying autistic kids. You can have like a kid with a very high IQ that's trying to kill you.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
It's not just autism. Yeah,
Right.
It's a behavioral thing,
Mhm.
like more than.
I've had all different kind of learning challenges.
What's the worst? No, just kidding.
Um,
Don't say that.
It's
the worst is
sad
when parents don't take care of their kids and then they just go, "Here you go. Here's my child for
That's
you to
why
have."
I think a lot about Paxton and Darby and like Hunter and how lucky Paxton is to have Darby and Hunter because they like put in the work. Paxton has autism and
He's only 4.
he's 4, but man, like they put in the work.
He does like
and
classes
when,
and like
good.
when a kid
you know.
has autism and the parent isn't involved, I feel
they just put him on an iPad or whatever, give him
No.
like pop-its
Or
and
it's
there go like, see you later.
Your time, rather than like just an iPhone or whatever, the experiences you have with your kid of playing like board games or experiences you
Yeah.
have with your children rather than showering them with gifts is so much
Yes.
more important.
Yeah, going out in public. Period. Like
Because they're a sponge and they're going to model themselves after you.
right. That's how they
So if
learn.
you put bad out there, you're going to get bad, you know.
Yep.
Your kids are going to watch that.
Everybody act right. Jeez.
But then it's generational. I mean, maybe the parent didn't have the
Yeah.
kid's grandparents.
yeah.
yeah.
They watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you don't know, you don't know. How are
Exactly.
you supposed to know? I mean, you can learn, like, you know, and try to teach your kids different things, but like if your parents treated you this way and you just don't know any better because
Expected
that's what you
behavior.
saw, yeah. I mean, that's
Right,
what
but
happens.
but in my head, then I'm like, okay, you became an adult, you decided to have kids,
Yeah.
ultimately you know if your parent was acting right or not, and it's like, do I want to do that same thing?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Speaking from experience.
But then it also goes like, you know, if both parents are not on board the same exact way how to discipline,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then the student comes into school and figures that they can. I mean, they learn manipulation easy.
Right. You're also an adult just like their parents, so they think that they could just treat you the same way and you're going to respond the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just your boys already know, like, the way that they act towards me is different than the way they act
Oh,
towards you.
1000%. They respect you more.
Because I beat them hard.
When I have parents in for parent-teacher conferences, you're like, I completely understand why this student is exactly the way they are.
You meet the parent and you're
Ta-da! I
like,
just connected the
okay.
dots. It's come full circle.
Yeah.
You know,
I had that experience.
Grant and I are working through it. Grant is,
I mean, he's 4.
he's
Or he's 3.
3.
He's
He's got some time.
yeah, he's losing
And I
his
think he's
mind
doing
right now.
good. And 3's, everything that I read, 3's is like the worst age.
Yeah,
Not
terrible
twos.
twos was easy.
Yeah, my pediatrician was like, 2s are rough, 3 is worse.
Yeah, because he starts to talk back and he feels like he can tell you what to do and be defiant.
And like he doesn't care if I say no.
Yeah, it's
But
not a.
but now
it's like he doesn't
dude,
hear it.
we're going in timeout. Like what the actual?
He spends a lot of
effort
time
are
in
you
timeout
doing?
when we hang out.
Another good thing is just to not interact with them.
Right.
This is what
so
I've said,
when he
period.
when he
I'm
gets
done.
to like a certain point, I'll just ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I'm
like,
not gonna.
you either have to work that out or.
I'm not gonna
I
give you
don't know.
attention.
But sometimes like I think about so like when your kid is acting out and like your toddler, I should say, but maybe it applies to older kids as well, I'm not sure, but like when your toddler's acting out and making you feel a certain way, so like out of control, frustrated, just
Yep.
like chaotic, that's how they feel and they don't know how to say that to you.
Right.
So then you tell yourself, okay, don't get worked up, that's how they're feeling, how can I help the situation? And it's like give them more choices throughout the day so they have a sense of control in their life, or like just giving them options. Like they don't
I
care.
don't
They
know.
just like want to
Yeah.
say they don't know that,
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
but they feel that way.
yeah,
And it's like, but I've looked up just like different tactics on like how to handle his.
I think
I looked up
every
different tactics.
anyone, I mean, you have to have a
So
license to drive. You have to have a
Right.
license to hunt. I think you need parenting classes because
Yeah.
you're not born. I mean, some
We don't
parents,
have a community anymore.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Like
some
how do you
people
learn?
flat out shouldn't be parents.
Yeah.
right,
And then are.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not, I mean, I chose not to be a parent.
yeah,
That was
same.
my decision.
No parents club, yay! We're freaking
kids clubs.
no kids club. We're not parents. We're child free, living our best life.
Well, I mean, teaching was also fantastic birth control.
Yeah,
you know,
I bet.
because
Did you ever make like a conscious decision, like I'm not doing
Yes.
this? You did.
I was
You-
camping at Dawson Lake, and I'm like, I am not going to have children.
Sweet.
Mhm.
And that was
And I, you know, I
It was like an
this is not
epiphany.
all just
Yeah.
negative. You know, I've had fantastic children. Like one of my
Yeah.
students have gone up to the junior high, and he is my boy. You know, I'm
Yeah.
going to miss him so.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have those ones that are absolutely fantastic,
Oh
Right.
yeah.
and they're the role models for the ones that are challenged in my
Right.
room.
Right. Yeah. You win some, you lose some. You know, and it doesn't make you go like, I want one at home for myself.
Some of them,
Yeah.
like one student that is going to the junior high, yeah, I've had her for 2 years, and she is never wrong, and she will argue to the nth degree, and
Oh my
I'm just like,
God.
well, life will handle you. I don't know what else, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
but
a
you-
stubborn person. I've given you choices. I've told you to get out of my room and go figure it out.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't play.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll call her mom in because her mom's the same way. And she's like, what do I do? I'm like, well, you and your husband don't behavior manage the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he lets her have whatever she wants and you don't.
Yeah.
So you're not the favorite.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Parenting, you're not going to be, I'm not here to be their favorite.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
You're
to make
the
sure that
teacher.
you turn into a good
Right.
human being.
I'm going to be that teacher that they'll look back hopefully and go,
Taught me some stuff.
kind of was right.
Yeah, taught me
Yeah.
some
You know.
shit. Even if they don't agree at the
Right.
time, they
right.
might be like, you know,
Even when they become parents, hopefully they'll instill
Right.
some of that of like, yeah, she wasn't wrong.
yeah, right. You know, maybe
Yeah.
I should not talk back to people.
Right. And like, I think a lot about their specific moments. I know specifically like for Flint, because he'll bring them up, like, but specific disciplinary moments in his life that made him be like,
Yeah, same.
and then from that moment on, like,
yeah,
he did not do that again.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
or whatever
It's
the case
learning.
may be. It was like,
Learning
wow,
curve.
okay.
yeah. I
Yeah.
had
Because
one.
sometimes you're a kid, you're unaware, you don't know. You put your job is to push boundaries because you don't know boundaries.
Right.
Yeah, literally, my dad flipped out on me one time,
And that's all it took.
and I was like, I think I was being a dick. And I was like, I shouldn't act like that. You're right, Dad. My bad. I will, yes, sir, I will get in the car right now. Please do not yell at me like that again. And then all it was after that was he would just go like, really? Or whatever. And I'd be like,
You're right.
Mhm.
oh my
You're
God.
right.
I remember that one time you're right. And you're right again. When you're right, Dad. Jesus Christ.
People need to also like let their guard down enough, and self-reflection's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you need to sit and think, well, did that work? Should I continue on with that?
Yeah.
Or just anything.
Right.
Like I'm very real with my students. Well, what happens when you don't pay your electric bill? You sit in the dark. If you quit your job, this is what happens.
Yeah.
You know.
And they might not know. Maybe
Right.
nobody ever said that to them before, and they were like,
Right. When a cop pulls you over, he's going to be less, nice than me, or less like patient.
Yeah.
Because he'll be like, you're breaking the law, you're done.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to instill on you. You have the real world you're going to have to deal with out there.
Yeah.
And if you're putting yourself out like you are now, when you become an adult, it's not going to work well for you. It's
No.
not. You've got a lot of things to learn.
Yeah.
A lot. And even at the high school level, when I've taught there, you got a lot of, you better start sitting and thinking about things.
right.
Life's going to be very hard for you.
Yes, you're going to have to live in real life and figure everything out eventually on your own,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
is like the roughest part.
it is. And then also, when you're acting like a fool, then the people around you, some kids will be like, I don't have any friends. I wonder why?
Right.
How are
Sadly,
you treating them?
Uh-huh.
How, rough.
kids are tough.
Yeah,
They are.
Especially,
that's it. Yes.
with even, like, I've had students that are born with challenges because of addiction, or what mom might be struggling with, and so they come behind the 8 ball to
Right.
jump
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Poor Flint's in the rain. It's pouring down rain in there outside.
Okay, well, I think that was a great way to end it anyways. That was great
Right.
advice for people.
Yes, I
And is
loved
there
it.
anything that you want to say that you feel like you didn't
I
say?
hope, I'm just worried now for the teachers who are coming into it, because I worry I don't foresee them retiring from this career.
Oh,
Because
You know?
they'll leave.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they've had enough.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh no! Oh my God, it's raining so
pouring.
hard.
They've been good.
Yeah, I want my glasses on. I can't really see.
But you should come back sometime.
I would
This
love
was
to.
So good.
I would love to.
Yes, please.
Love to.
That'd be
Thank you
great.
for inviting me.
Yes.
Cheers. Love you.
Love you guys.
Ding.
Are you guys wet? Did you get your bath early?
You gonna turn it off, or are you gonna keep playing?
I just